Hey guys, what is up? Today's topic, make All Blacks great again. Yes, they went as high as second in the world after beating the Irish in Dublin on this recent Northern Hemisphere tour. Right now, they're about third in the world. And if you know any Kiwi rugby fans, you'll know that third in the world doesn't really cut it. We want to get back to number one. There's a big problem though. The Springboks are entrenched at number one currently. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how the All Blacks can get back to world number one in 2025. And I've boiled it down to 3 items on my wish list. Let's get to it. So firstly, the All Blacks have shown real signs of improvement on this recent Northern Hemisphere tour. They're definitely trending up in the right direction. Can they run down the Springboks and the Irish and the French? Well, the problem might be that the Springboks are also improving. Yes, they're at their peak right now, but the way that Rassie Erasmus has blooded in so many new faces shows that the South Africans are building for the future while still winning. So it's possible that they might get some more longevity out of this cycle, that they're not a team in decline at all, that they're replacing their aging parts. That's scary. But I think there is a way to get back on top of the Boks. We're going to need to beat them at least once in 2025 at home, hopefully twice, fingers crossed. Certainly don't want to lose that winning record at Eden Park. That is going to be on the line next year. Mouth-watering clash, that one. But we need to look to the middle row if we want the All Blacks to get back to number one in the world. You see, the front row is looking really good right now. In fact, I can't remember this much depth. You've got Tamaiti Williams, you've got Basilio Tosi, you've got Fletcher Newell, who's Mr. Reliable. You've got the renaissance of Ofa Tuangafasi. That's not even mentioning Tyrell Lomax and Ethan de Groot, both of whom were the incumbents coming into this year. So the front row looks great, particularly with Cody Taylor in form and Asafo Amua now nipping at his heels. It's the middle row where the All Blacks need a bit more depth. Scott Barrett has returned to some of his career best form recently after shaking off an injury earlier in the year. Tupou Vaa'i has been a revelation for the All Blacks. Couple of ropey games on the end of year tour, but if you look at his form book over the course of the year, you have to say he was one of the best performers in the All Blacks forward pack and just has an incredible nous in the line out. I mean, this bloke has come of age in a way I never would have seen when he really underwhelmed playing at 6 against France in the opening game of the Rugby World Cup last year. But we need a little bit more. Patrick Tuipulotu, he's coming off the bench. He's looking great. He's a warrior, a wizened warrior, a guy who has been around for about 10 years in this top-level New Zealand rugby environment. How much more gas is in the tank? I guess we're going to find out. He could be managed through the next World Cup, but we need some young blokes coming through. Now, I know what you're thinking. Sam Darry came in. I'm not convinced yet. I think he was a good stopgap. I think he's very good at Super Rugby level. I'm not convinced he's a keeper in the All Blacks. I'd love nothing more than to eat my words next year, but I'm looking for a little bit more physicality. Now, there's another young player, Isaiah Walker-Leawere. He might come of age. You've got Fabian Holland in the mix. He played with the All Blacks 15. These are 2 guys that could really come up trumps for the All Blacks. But I wonder if there might just be another gem out there waiting to get unearthed. Now, if you think that's wishful thinking, consider this. How many of you knew the name Wallace Satiti a year ago? Yes, maybe some of you really eagle-eyed Kiwi fans, but most of you, especially if you're from overseas, probably only heard of him when he exploded into the international arena. At best, you might have seen him in the Chiefs' run to the finals in Super Rugby. But the point being, sometimes you do get a player who just explodes into the mix. So fingers crossed there's a youngster out there who might just jump ahead of Sam Darry and Josh Lord and give us that 4th world-class lock that we really need. And the reason we need that is, again, take a look at the world number 1 Springboks. They're leading the way. Of course, you have Eben Etzebeth, the most capped Springbok ever. You've got amazing impact off the bench from R.G. Snyman, okay? Take a look at the Welsh game. Mostert, amazing. He was close to the man of the match. That just shows the depth that the Boks have when it comes to their locks. Very enviable, mouth-watering performance from that bloke. And yeah, a little bit of a wake-up call. I think we need a little bit more world-class cattle there for the All Blacks. And if we can grow our locking depth to the level of our front row depth, that pack is going to be looking much better going forward. Let's move on to the second item on my wish list. I'm taking a look at the loose forwards. I want 2 things: clarity and combinations. Now, even though it was disappointing to lose to France by a point in Paris, there was a lot to be happy about. In particular, that back row of Wallace Satiti, Peter Lakai, and Ardie Savea. They looked amazing together. Athletic, playing wide, also getting the gnarly, gritty work done at the breakdown. That might have been the best that the All Blacks back row has looked all year. Now, we are losing Sam Cane overseas. He has done an heroic job. He's stepped into the breach. He's really been rock solid for the All Blacks, played with his usual levels of courage and tenacity. We're going to miss him, but the future is now. We have to move on. Now, you might be thinking, well, hang on a sec, isn't the All Blacks back row looking pretty good? I mean, Wallace Satiti has been the find of the season. Ardie Savea is just Mr. Energizer Bunny. He's always in good form. Aren't the All Blacks in good stead, even with Kane leaving? Well, it was not that long ago that we were struggling through a back row combination featuring Dalton Papali'i and Ethan Blackadder. We did not have the answers to this loose forward puzzle at the beginning of the year. And the reason I want to throw in some caution is that that was not that long ago that we looked quite muddled in terms of our loosies. Now, I'm excited by the fact that Shannon Frizzell might be coming back. I'm excited by the rise of Peter Lakai. Should Wallace Satiti just continue at 6? I know 8 is his preferred position, but to my eyes, he's looked every bit as good at 6 this year. And according to Razor, the roles are somewhat interchangeable outside of the scrum. You can see that these are all very exciting possibilities, but there isn't a crystal clear answer. That's why I think we need clarity and combinations in this space in 2025. There is the possibility of the All Blacks really becoming world beaters at the breakdown and playing with a pace and flair that could leave a lot of teams in the dust. But we're going to need consistent selections, and we're going to need a hard call made by Razor Robertson. Now that Kane is gone, he has no choice. Time to make those big decisions. If we can do that, I think the All Blacks are going to grow a lot in 2025. And lastly, the All Blacks need better finishing. They had the most line breaks of any team this year. They are clearly creating the most opportunities, but the finishing hasn't always been clinical. And I'm loath to point the finger at a back three of Mark Talea, Will Jordan, who has 38 tries from 41 test starts, and also Caleb Clark at 11, who has at times looked like, I don't want to say Jonah Lomu, but I'll go with Julian Savea in terms of his running power game. But he's also looked like an AFL footballer with his high ball skills. Not often you have a big power athlete who also has the aerial game. He's a bit of a gem. So I'm pretty happy with how the back three is looking. It's the centers that seems a little bit vexed for the All Blacks. Now, Jordie Barrett and Rieko Ioane, they are out-and-out great footballers. But is this their best and highest use at 12 and 13? Should they really be clattering into that defensive wall? Is Rieko Ioane, who we know is a deadly finisher, look at his early try-scoring exploits for the All Blacks on the wing, is he really the best at setting up his outsides? This is my third wish to the rugby gods. We need more creativity from our centers. We need to set up our outside backs better. Billy Proctor showed he can do that at Super Rugby. We saw glimpses of it when he started against Fiji and started against Japan. Is he a better option than Rieko? Or do we then lose something on defense? Because Rieko Ioane is a hell of a good defender in midfield. Do we need to look at a guy like AJ Lamb? Or is there another option, more in the Ma'anonu mold? A player who can not only set up his outsides, but can absolutely bust through the line if need be. I'm talking about Lester Fainga'anuku, who is coming back to New Zealand shores. Perhaps, now that he's even more mature, having played a season up north, playing that attritional style, perhaps he's the guy who could slot in at 13. He's certainly got the power, he certainly gets over the advantage line, and he has some pretty handy distribution skills too. If we can get that midfield balance a little bit better, if we can finish more opportunities, which is going to start with creating more at 13, I think the All Blacks will take a quantum leap forward with their attacking next year. From my mouth to God's ears. That's what I want to see. So there you go, guys. My three-pronged wish list to get the All Blacks back to number 1 in the world. What do you think? Is it possible, or is there just too much space between us and the Springboks? Is South Africa going to start declining, or do you think they'll just keep going from strength to strength, building the squad of 50 that Rassie wants? Let me know in the comments. I can't wait to read them. Go the All Blacks. I'll be back for another one real soon. Take it easy. Bye for now.